welcome to my channel. If you've not subscribed to my channel, please try and do so. Now, today I just want to talk about feeding the vulnerable. Yes, feeding the vulnerable. Now, before I talk about feeding the vulnerable, I would like you to understand who these vulnerable groups are. First of all, who are the vulnerable groups? The vulnerable groups are those individuals that are easily affected by adverse conditions around them. Now, who are these vulnerable groups? The vulnerable groups are your infants. Any infant that is around you or children that are around you, they are vulnerable. The pregnant mothers and also the lactating mothers, they are also vulnerable. They are also under the vulnerable group. Yes. Then the next vulnerable group are the sick ones. Yes, any sick one that is around you is a vulnerable group member. We also have the elderly ones. Do you have an aged parent around you? Do you have anyone that is quite old? Let's say from 60 years, 65 years. That person is a vulnerable group member. So right now, I would like to give you a little formula of how to ensure that anyone that is vulnerable around you feeds adequately. Now, one method you should know that any vulnerable group member should adhere to while feeding is this. If you're a vulnerable group member, you should know that when you are feeding, you should know that feeding right is very, very necessary for your well-being. Yes. And the method you should follow is eating small but frequent meal. Every vulnerable member is expected to eat small but frequent meal. It's just like our infants. Most mothers usually think that giving your child food, that your child is supposed to eat just as much as them as an adult should also feed. It is wrong. As a vulnerable group member, your child is supposed to be given small but frequent meal. Yes, because even their stomach capacity is even too small to accommodate a larger amount of food. And for them to meet up the recommended nutrient daily intake that will help them live a normal life, that will replenish lost tissues and promote optimum growth, it is important that you give them small but frequent meal. So this is one of the methods you should look into whenever you are close to anyone that is vulnerable. Their nutrition should be top-notch. Yes. You should also be intentional in giving them the right kind of food. So as you decide to eat 3 times in a day, you should also know that your vulnerable group member that is around you, whether it's your aged parents, whether it's your child, whether it's a pregnant woman around you, whether it's a lactating mother. What I mean by lactating mother are those nursing mothers, those mothers that are still breastfeeding their infants. You should know that they require small but frequent meal. They are likely to eat at least mid-morning snacks, mid-afternoon snacks, and mid-dinner snacks to be able to meet up with the recommended nutrient intake that their body needs at that point. They are called vulnerable because they are easily exposed to any adverse condition that might take place around them. So it is very important that you take it seriously, because nutrition is life. If they don't feed properly, they won't be able to live their normal life. Like a child, an infant, for example, if you do not administer an adequate diet to your infant is likely to fall sick. Your infant is likely to drag you to the hospital. Likewise, a pregnant woman. If a pregnant woman is around you and she doesn't feed fine, if she doesn't feed fine, she's likely to fall sick. She's likely to be exposed to any infection around, and she's even likely to be anemic. Yes, and that is is a very dangerous thing for any pregnant woman to be anemic. So it is very important that whether you have a pregnant woman around you, or a lactating mother, or an aged parent, or an aged relation or friend, or a sick person per se. Yes, a sick person can be anybody. So their nutrition should be taken seriously. And also, it is also good for you to check out for dehydration, because you might be thinking that it's just all about food, food, food. Are you sure if that child is taking enough water? Are you sure if that sick one around you is drinking enough water? That is one of the things you should also consider. So, anytime you meet any vulnerable group member around you, you should know that they require small but frequent meal. Their food should be reoccurring. It should be a normal thing. You should be intentional in giving them food at all time. And not just any kind of food, nutrient dense food. Yes, because if you give them a lot of calorie dense food, they're likely to add weight. They're likely to get excessively, big. So this is all for now. And like I said before, if you have any question at all to ask me, please do so. I'll always be here to give you wonderful, good updates, health related updates, nutrition related updates that will be beneficial to not just you, but your family and people that are around you. Thank you very much. See you next time. Bye.